I know not who you are, nor how I came to find you, but may I just say, hi. How you doing?
What is up, book friends? I'm Addie, and this is Books and Tea Time. I am so excited for you guys to see today's video. I'm actually recording this kind of out of order, and I have finished everything else for the video, and I'm recording the intro way late. And we are reading Words of Radiance. Obviously, I have done my damage with annotating and tabbing everything and highlighting the crap out of it. I am so happy for you guys to see the rest of this footage and me reading this book, because no spoilers yet. I'm not gonna tell you my opinion, but let's just say it's pretty good. It's pretty good, I guess. I mean, like, it's fine. It's fine. Today we are doing the second installment of my Stormlight Archives reading vlogs, where I read these chonky monkey Stormlight books, and they are completely filled with spoilers. So if you haven't read Words of Radiance yet, or if you haven't read the first book, obviously, that's okay. You don't have to watch it. I would say if you are planning on reading Words of Radiance in the future and you would consider saving this video and coming back in the future to watch it and experience this with me, that would be much appreciated. But if you don't want spoilers, or if you have no interest in reading the Stormlight Archives, I'm sorry, but this video probably isn't for you. But if you are a Stormlight fan, like I am very quickly becoming, then welcome. I'll have a link to my first installment where I read The Way of Kings. Let me get it out. So I read The Way of Kings, and I did a whole spoiler-filled reading vlog talking about that book. That's the first book in the series, and we are on book 2, which is significantly bigger. If you have seen my vlogs before, then you know I don't typically do spoiler reading vlogs, because I don't want to spoil things for people who haven't read them, and I want to make my videos as accessible to as many people as possible and kind of just chat up books that I really like and read them, but give you my limited spoiler-free content, and that is typically what we do on this channel. However, when it comes to the Stormlight Archives, I decided that I wanted to do these long, chunky, spoiler-filled videos of me reading these books and talking with you guys about what happens and summarizing the major plot points, reacting to the major plot points, plot twists, things that are going on, because these books are so long. This is supposed to be a 10-book series, according to Brandon Sanderson, and there are only 4 books out right now. And book 5 isn't coming out until like 2023. These videos are going to be help and support for myself in the future and for my fellow Stormlight fans, as videos to help refresh our memories when future books come out, so that we don't have to reread these 1,000+ page books every time a new book comes out. So when book 5 comes out, my plan is to just rewatch the first 4 videos in this series and revisit my notes and not have to reread all these books and then just jump into book 5. I love rereading, but I don't want to have to reread all the time just to remember plot points and content, if that makes sense. Like, I want to reread because I want to, not because I have to. I hope that makes sense. I hope these videos are helpful, if not at least enjoyable, because I know that I have been really enjoying watching other people's vlogs, whether they're spoiler or not, and hearing their opinions on the first book, and I'm excited to do that for Words of Radiance. But anyway, this video, we're going to be reading Words of Radiance and talking about everything. So from this point on, there are going to be spoilers. So this is your warning, people. Leave if you haven't read this book, because whoo mama, this is wild. Feel free to reach out and message me on Instagram, on Goodreads, whatever, and talk to me about this series, because I cannot shut up about it. My family is so sick of me because I won't shut up. Let's now go back in time to past me, who has not yet finished and is just about to start, and see what she's up to, shall we? it's time for my first Words of Radiance check-in. It's going swimmingly. I am 70 pages in right now, and I'm loving it so much. 70 is barely making a dent. I've literally read this much of this like 1100 page book, but I don't even care. I love it so much so far. It's been nothing but amazing. I decided that I'm gonna annotate this time around. So I didn't annotate the Way of Kings. All I did was I marked at the top with my colored sticky notes. I marked the like point of view we were following. So green is Kaladin, pink is Shallan, orange is like Dalinar, Navani, Adeline, all of the people in like his camp. And then I have blue for Szeth, and also this yellow for like the interludes and stuff, and like prologues, epilogues, etc. But as I was reading the first like 30 or 40 pages, there was just so much that I wanted to highlight, and I think at this point it's just like it's in my bones, in my soul, that I just want to annotate. And I really wanted to annotate the Way of Kings, but it was kind of overwhelming. I was getting to know the characters and situating myself in the world and everything that was going on. But now that I'm on book 2, I feel like I'm in a place where I'm comfortable annotating, and in fact it's distracting. It was distracting me not annotating, if that makes sense. Like I was like, oh, I want to highlight that, and then I wouldn't, and I would think about it and like, oh, I really want to remember that. So I made this whole color-coded key of stuff that I want to highlight. Where are we at? What the hell is going on? Well, I'll tell you. At the beginning of each book in the Stormlight Archive, the prologue is the same scene essentially, but told from different point of views. So the prologue of book 1 takes place 6 years before present time in our story, and it is the assassination of Gavilar, who is the king of one of these province sovereignty areas in the world, which is Roshar. And he is assassinated by Szeth, and we follow Szeth in that first prologue. But in Words of Radiance, the prologue is that same night when Gavilar is assassinated, but from Yasna's perspective. And so we're following her, and Sanderson, like, he's so freaking sneaky. He like tries to confuse us, and he like has this moment where our hearts are pounding because Yasna is meeting with an assassin on the same night that her dad is assassinated, and there's like a split second where you're like, what do you mean she's meeting with an assassin on the night her dad is assassinated, because Gavilar is her father? But then we end up finding out that she is hiring an assassin to not kill yet, but to spy on and follow her sister-in-law, who is the wife of her brother, who is the heir to the throne. So he eventually becomes king. His name's Elokar, I think is how you pronounce it, and he becomes king when Gavilar dies, and so she is like the queen, and Yasna for some reason doesn't trust her. We don't really know a lot about why yet. Also in the prologue, Yasna goes to Shadesmar for the very first time, and we're getting her first initial experience and reaction in Shadesmar, which matches perfectly with the end of book 1 when Shallan is going to Shadesmar, and then her and Yasna figure out that they have this ability to go there, and they share some stuff together. So I'm already learning so much in this book about Shadesmar, which apparently it's like another world that touches our world, and like everything there mirrors the real world, but the whole world is made up of like these little beads, like these inky black beads. And apparently Shadesmar is known as the realm of the Spren, and Spren are so confusing, but we're learning so much more about them. So that leads me into my key. So I'm really just going to quickly tell you so far what I'm keeping track of. So for green, I'm keeping track of Spren and information about Spren, anything that tells us more about it. I have a purple shade for Shadesmar just because it felt appropriate. I have blue for surge binding abilities of any kind, so like lashings and soul casting. I have pink for gender and class distinctions. Then I have this orange color for like the technology of the world, so all like the fabrials and things like that. Yellow is like history and mythology, kind of anything that mentions the lost Radiance or the Knights Radiant, Void Bringers, etc, etc. And last, I have a red for the Parshendi and their culture, and the Parshmen and their differences from the Parshendi and their similarities, and just tracking all of those comments. Right now, I think I am going to go hang out with Alexander though, because we're drafting for fantasy football today. I have to draft my team and get that going. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to read until later tonight, but I will update you when I have read a significant chunk, maybe 100 to 200 pages in. That's my first update. Peace out. It's so creepy to look at myself in my reflection right now. I'm doing a lavender mud mask because I wanted to pamper myself and refresh my skin a little bit, and I thought that while I was waiting for it to do its skincare magic on my face that I would give you some updates, because I have been flying through Words of Radiance. I am like 270 pages in. I can't stop myself. I've read like 150 pages just today alone. I love all the characters. I love all of the scheming and the politics. I love the world building that we're still getting. We're learning so much more about Spren and their connections with humans and everything. But I'm just gonna give you the 411 because I finished part 1. First and foremost, the most important thing is that Jasna better not be dead. Do you hear me? If she's dead, I'm rioting. I'm not reading Oathbringer. I'm not reading Rhythm of War. I'm burning the copies of the books that I already own. Like, Jasna better not be dead. I don't know how Sanderson is gonna plot twist her into reality again, but there's some suspicious stuff. Like, there's a shipwreck when these bandit people, or like these pirates that I think might be Ghost Bloods, but we're not sure, take over the ship that Shallan and Jasna are traveling on to get to the Shattered Plains, and Shallan sees Jasna's body on the floor and she sees blood, but then when she returns back to Jasna's rooms later, her body isn't there, and that to me is a good sign. Thing number 2 is pattern is so interesting, so cool. One of the things that we've mainly learned in this first big chunk is that Kaladin is not the only human who has been able to bond with Spren. And Spren are still really mysterious. We've been getting like this influx of information about Spren, but it's still not really clear everything about them. There's still so much that we don't know. So in the first book, Kaladin and Syl are like this really strange outlier, but what we're finding out now is that not only does Shallan have a Spren, but Jasna also briefly mentions her Spren named Ivory, but she also says that he doesn't like to be spoken about and he doesn't like to appear to people, so he's still very much a mystery. But Shallan's Spren, who she names Pattern, is this specific type of Spren called a cryptic, but in the human realm he's called a lie Spren. Third, Bright Lord Amaram, or whatever the hell his name is, who, first of all, let's recap, took Kaladin's brother and enlisted him in his army, even though he was really young and I think maybe underage, actually, like, whatever. He got Kaladin's brother killed, and then Kaladin saved his life by killing a shard bearer who was trying to kill him, and then he takes the shard blade from Kaladin and uses it to kill all his men, and then he sells Kaladin into slavery. So at the very end of part 1, Amaram shows his face in Dalinar's camp because he and Dalinar are like political buddy whatever, and I cannot wait for Kaladin to stab him in his stupid face. Oh, and I won't say too much about the interludes yet because I will get to that, but one thing that I really quickly wanted to mention that I think is super cool is that we're following a Parshendi warrior in one of the interludes, and I think that is so fascinating and amazing, and that we're getting to learn more about them. It's about time for me to take this off. It's starting to like harden. I'll come back on and update you when I finish part 2 and I have more thoughts. Good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Bye. Okay, here for the first set of interludes, and the first of the interludes we're following the Parshendi Shardbearer Ashani. It's the first Parshendi perspective that we get, so we're getting a look into their culture and more about them. They call themselves the Listeners, and they speak in rhythms which kind of convey their emotions and some context of their speech, which is really interesting. And also the main
part of their world that we're getting a glimpse into here is that they take on different forms which affect their personality and their motivations slightly. When they change these forms, they have different purposes, and they have 5 forms: war form, nimble form, mate form, work form, and dull form. But in this scene, Ashani's sister Venli has discovered the secret of storm form, which is this ancient and very powerful form that they're trying to bring back to help them get an edge in the war against Althkar. In this interlude, we're following Im, who is a cobbler from Erie, another area in Roshar, and he has his own surge-binding abilities. He's able to heal people, and he has been making and giving away shoes to young children and poor children in his community who can't afford shoes, and he has been doing that in exchange for their life stories. And he has somewhat of a strange past. Seems he may have accidentally killed someone with poison. And in this interlude, the man with the crescent-shaped scar on his face and a shard blade, who pops up several times throughout the book, has come to punish him for that past crime that he committed, even though it was 40 years ago. He has come and he kills him as punishment for that crime. In this third interlude, we're following Raisin, who actually appears in the interludes in the first book, The Way of Kings, and she's an apprentice trade master, and in this interlude she's traveling to the Reshi Isles to make a trade on behalf of her master, who is supposedly ill. And the islands in the Reshi Isles turn out to be giant, massive sea creatures, and people live on their backs and treat them as their gods. The king of this particular island, who is actually female, refuses originally to trade with Raisin, but in order to impress the people with her boldness, Raisin dangles from a rope to meet the eye of the creature and actually falls. She paralyzes herself, presumably from the waist down, and the creature rewards her with a small being called a larkin, which is apparently very rare. Her master actually came to this area for a corpse of a larkin to study and trade, so it's apparently very, very rare, and the creature itself has rewarded Raisin for her boldness with a living creature, and it seems that a lot of interesting things are going to come from their pairing. Finally, we are back with Ashani again, who has visited her mother in this interlude, and we find out that her mother has a little bit of memory loss. And in addition, the Five, which is the governing body of sorts for the Parshendi people, have agreed to allow the Parshendi to test storm form, and Ashani convinces them to let her be the sort of guinea pig to test out this storm form in the coming high storm. You go into the high storm and it changes your form when you have the particular spren to help you change into the correct form, and so Ashani is going to do that, but she also has planned to meet up with Dalinar to talk potentially about peace.
Hi friends. Okay, I'm not done with part 2 yet, but I had to come on and give you an update because Kaladin and Shallan just met and she took his shoes. I love how many of like the characters from The Way of Kings are starting to meet and how perspectives are starting to converge, and those like first scenes, like they're so precious. I love Adolin and Kaladin's banter and how they're always just like messing with each other, and I really do hope that that blossoms into a friendship between the two of them. Now Shallan is about to be at the Shattered Plains. She is very close, and she just ran into Kaladin, and she's with like this caravan of like mercenaries and deserters and like con artists that she found. She's like faking being someone that she's not, and she demands that Kaladin give her his boots as recompense for insulting her, and I can't wait for them to meet again and for her to realize that he's like one of the leaders of Dalinar's guard, and it's just so funny. So I just wanted to say that. I love it. I am currently on page 346. I'm this far in. I'm flying through it, and today is a really rainy day. It's Tuesday, so it's a great day for reading, and I definitely am going to try and finish part 2 very soon. I only have like 50 pages left in part 2, and then I want to read the interlude, so I'll come back and update you with more thoughts on part 2, but I just couldn't resist talking about that because it's so funny. Peace out. Happy Tuesday.
A few moments later.
I knew it. I knew it. I called it. I have video evidence that I knew this was gonna happen. Oh my god. I just finished part 2. I'm like almost exactly 400 pages in. We're making progress, and oh my god. Shallan has a shard blade. Who knew it? Me. I knew it. I actually have video evidence in my first reading vlog where I did The Way of Kings. I have evidence of me saying that I think Shallan has a shard blade. I think Shallan has a shard blade. I wanted to get it recorded on camera so that if it's true, you guys know I called it. Shallan has a shard blade, and she just whips it out, and oh my god. Shallan is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. She is just such a boss ass babe. I love her so much. She's a scholar, but she's also just got this gritty mystery quality to her, and I love it. She is just such a wonderful character. She's about to arrive at the Shattered Plains, and she's talking with that mercenary lady Tin, and they're watching the span read, and they're getting their information, and then all of a sudden we find out that Tin was in charge of the hit on Jasna. What? She finds out who Shallan is, that she was Jasna's ward, and she tries to kill Shallan, and Shallan's just like, boom. Blade, stab, dead, and then all the mercenaries see her, and now she's basically just a legend, like Szeth, because it's kind of like unheard of among like the people in Roshar for a woman to have a shard blade. In other news, so I finished part 2. Shallan has a shard blade. No, I'm not surprised. She's about to arrive at the Shattered Plains and meet everybody there, and I cannot wait. I barely controlled myself before reading the interludes to come up here and update you, because I cannot put this book down. But also right before that, a lot of other wild stuff happening. Szeth shows up, because at the end of book 1, Taravangian, who turns out to be like this mastermind evil man after he was like this adorable cute little king the whole time, he orders Szeth to kill Dalinar, and it's been 400 pages and nothing has happened, and I don't know why I thought it was gonna happen at the end, but Szeth shows up and tries to kill Dalinar. And so Dalinar, Adolin, and Kaladin are fighting him like in the palace, and things are crazy because no one except for Bridge 4 members know that Kaladin is a Surge Binder. They don't know about his powers. So he's like trying to fight Szeth while also trying not to reveal his powers, and then he like tackles him out. Okay, first of all, Szeth slices his arm with a shard blade, and my heart stopped beating because I was like, oh my god, Kaladin's not gonna have an arm anymore, he's not gonna be able to use it, what's gonna happen? But then of course he heals it with Stormlight, because Brandon Sanderson's just like playing with me. He's toying with my emotions, with my mind, but Kaladin is okay and I'm okay, everything's fine. I'm like literally on a high right now. I feel like I just like books are a drug and I am doing them, if you know what I'm saying, okay? Kaladin is fighting Szeth while trying to hide his powers while also still using them so that he can fight Szeth in like his full form, because Szeth, of course, is also a Surge Binder. He has a shard blade and he can do like the whole lashing situation, and he's clearly really advanced at that because he's been practicing it for a very long time. Kaladin literally tackles Szeth out of like an 100-foot window that Szeth has cut into this palace and tackles him, and everyone's like, how did you survive? And he kind of plays it off. But those are definitely the biggest revelations, I would say, in part 2. Kaladin has to learn how to ride a horse. That was pretty amusing. Really interesting. I'm about to read the second set of interludes, and then I'm just gonna keep chugging along, and we'll see when I next update you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Alrighty, back again for the second set of interludes, which are a little bit shorter. In this first interlude, we are following Ashani as she enters the High Storm to take on Storm form, and she speaks with the Rider of Storms, also known as the Stormfather, who seems a bit concerned about what Ashani is doing and apologizes to her for what's about to happen to her. Very foreboding and suspicious. After that, we get a brief moment with Zahel, who is a warrior turned ardent that has been training Renarin and who trained Adolin previously, and Kaladin shows up to speak with him and ask him to teach him how to fight Shardbearers after he faces Szeth when he comes to try and assassinate Dalinar. Next, we are following Talon, who is a supposed madman and the herald from the end of book 1 who comes to announce the coming of the next desolation, and we are following as he listens to Borden, who is one of Dalinar's men from Kholinar, telling him about the arrival, and he has a shard blade and frantically is telling them to try and prepare, and his part in helping them prepare for what is to come. Finally, we are again with Ashani, who has returned and is now in storm form, and she frightens her people a bit because her eyes have turned red in the transformation process, which is the mark of a Voidbringer, and there's a very ominous note at the end of this scene where a voice in her head is screaming in horror at what she has done.
Good morning, everybody. How are we? How are you? What's going on? Just got the mail, and I noticed that I got my, I think this is my September, my September Sips buy box. So I thought, let's do an unboxing to spice up the Stormlight content. So while I'm opening this, I will tell you that I reached page 800 of Words of Radiance last night. It's so good, and I finished part 3, so we're going to talk about that. If you don't know, Sips By is a tea subscription box, which is super on brand for me. I actually heard about this box from Jessie of Bowties and Books. They're super amazing. Make sure you go check them out. Love their channel so much. You get 4 servings of 4 different kinds of tea to try every month, so let's open it. Oh, it's so cute. I love it. So you get this little card every month, and it has information that I don't want to read yet, but it's personalized. Has my name on it. Super sweet. Ooh, okay. The first thing I'm seeing here, or actually, let me show you. Every month you get this like cloth bag for loose tea, and you also get these individual tea bags for loose tea, like these disposable ones. So the first thing I'm seeing in here are this organic wild strawberry. It's a delicious, rich and delicious organic black tea with strawberry flavoring in it, and it's from Davidson Organics. That sounds really good. It is high caffeine, so it tells you the caffeine content on this little card, so maybe I'll have this morning. Super fun. Okay, ooh, okay, the next one I'm seeing in here is this hibiscus super flower tea. I have gotten this brand before, but not this flavor. This is the blueberry. This one is caffeine free. It's an herbal supplement tea, so that one's great. And then I have 2 loose teas in here. This one is just not in English, so I'm gonna show it to you because I don't know what that says, but oh my god, what? Green tea, vanilla flavor. I love vanilla. Tea flowers and sunflower petals, low caffeine. Love the packaging. I think it's really fancy. So I love trying stuff out. And then the last one is another loose tea from Bare Leaves. Oh, it matches my nails. Super cute. And it says, this bright and fragrant tea comes from the South Indian mountainous region of Nilgiri. Great. Oh, I'm very excited. So I'm excited to try all these. I think I'm gonna start by trying this. I love it. This is not sponsored, but as I say in every video where I talk about Sips By, hit me up. Let's try this tea, shall we? Hello. We're in the car for Car Chronicles with Addie. I've got coffee. I have never in my life tried anything pumpkin spice from Starbucks before until today, and I got the pumpkin cream cold brew. I don't even know what it is, but it's delicious. That first sip, ooh, it was good. Anyway, so I left the house for the first time in a while because I needed to get my fingerprints done for an FBI background check because I got a job at a library. I don't want to say too much about like where or like what I'll be doing, like what my position is, because I don't really know what the protocol is, what the deal is with it yet. But I have to like wait until I get the clearance back from getting fingerprinted before I can start. When we get home, I'm gonna gush more about Words of Radiance and read more, but I also have to edit a video. I've been doing terribly with filming. I haven't posted a video I think in like over a week because first Psychonauts 2 came out, which is a video game that I've literally been waiting for since I was like 10 years old. The first one is like one of my favorite video games, if not my favorite video game of all time. I love it. And the second one, after so many years, finally came out. And also then I started this book, and all I've been doing is reading and recording this vlog, but I'm not going to post this vlog until obviously I finish the book. So I need to film content, and yesterday I filmed my summer wrap up, so that will be up by the time this video is up. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, but I have to edit that and post it today. So peace out, see you soon. Hello, I'm here with wine. I just got back from a lot of shopping. If you're over 21, grab a beverage with me, and we're going to talk about all the things I purchased, both things that I needed and things that I didn't. I went to Marshall's, I went to Target, and then I made a special mystery stop that's probably not a mystery because this is my booktube channel. As I said a few clips ago, I got a new job. And I still have my old job too, so I have 2 jobs. One of them is I'm a waitress at a wedding hall on the weekends, and I'm still going to be doing that, but I got a weekday, more like a 9 to 5 type of a thing at the library. So I need a new wardrobe. We're going to talk about it all. But first and foremost, the most important purchase of the day is Oathbringer. Okay, I have like, what, 250 pages of Words of Radiance left, and even though I'm probably not going to pick this up right away, I mean, I still have to read Edge Dancer, which is the novella between books 2 and 3. I wanted to have it, so I got it, and this one is 1,200 pages. It's chunky, but like honestly, at this point, it doesn't even intimidate me because I love every second of it. First things first, I'm flying through my sticky tabs, and these are my favorite. They're from like the Target Up and Up brand. They're just called adhesive flags. They're transparent page flags, and they're my favorite ones right now. Love them, and I'm flying through them because I'm using them to annotate Words of Radiance, and obviously I use a lot of them, so I grabbed 2 because I always like to have a lot on hand. Got myself some more foundation. I like Maybelline Fit Me. Since I'm on this journey of, you know, getting an adult woman's wardrobe and being more adult now that I've graduated, I thought that I would get this really cute little, I don't even know what I would call it. It's not really a planner, but it's like this little my day, plan your day notes thing, and it has like time slots on here, and you just fill it out, and I thought that would be really cool, you know, so I grabbed it, and it's in this really cute orangey color that also matches my nails. Why does everything match my nails today? And then I got this really cute dress. So this is one of the things like that's going towards my wardrobe. It's a little bit nicer, and I don't know if you can really see. This is the top. It's like got this like frilly neckline and this thing, and then there's the back, and then it's just kind of flowy. It's like a deep mauve-y color. It looks kind of brown on camera, but it's more of a mauve. And then I went to Marshall's, and this is where I got the most stuff, and I'm really happy with a lot of the stuff that I got. So I got a bunch of tops and 1 pair of pants. The first top that I got is this frilly number. Super cute. I don't know if any of you even care about this, but I'm showing you anyway. Then, okay, this is my favorite purchase, and I can't even wear it for like a month probably, but look at this cardigan, guys. It's so cute. I love the color, and I wish that you could reach through the screen because this is one of the softest materials. It's not scratchy at all. It's so soft, and I cannot wait to wear this. I love fall, and I love sweaters. I love cardigans. Then I think this might be my favorite top that I got. I got this like sleeveless top, but it's kind of like a mini turtleneck situation. It's just black, and yeah, thought that would look nice, a little fancy. And I also really like this one. I like the pattern. I like the sleeves, a little bunchy. Nice little top there. And then I just got some like form-fitting slacks. Normal black pants. Last, but certainly not least, I got myself a bag. I still wanted the backpack vibe because, I don't know, I just like, I'm not super into purses and I don't have a lot or carry purses very often. I thought this would be cute. It's a little nicer. Happy Friday. Cheers again. Clink. I've been clinking you guys a lot in this video. I've had like 3 sips of wine. This is my first glass and I'm already being weird. Okay, calm down, Addie. Hi friends, I look a little bit crazy because I'm doing my makeup right now, so I'm looking a little sus, but okay. I'm here to confess that I finished Words of Radiance, but I've been really bad about updating you guys and filming, and I wanted to make an effort to really like break down each part in the book, but I read parts 3, 4, and 5 and finished the book without updating you at all because I am a mess. I was absolutely consumed by this book. Like, I couldn't stop to do anything. I couldn't be bothered to do anything. We're here right now to talk about part 3 because I think the last time I updated you, I was like halfway through part 3, and obviously I finished it because I finished the book. So we're gonna start by just talking about part 3, and then after I do my makeup, we'll break down the rest of it. Part 3, what happened? Well, Charlotte finally got to the war camp. She shows up at this meeting when they're talking about like the assassin in white. This is after he comes for Dalinar. She tells Navani and everybody that Jasna is presumably dead. Dalinar says that tentatively their casual betrothal situation between Shallan and Adolin will keep, he'll keep his promise to that, but she has to basically convince Dalinar, Adolin, and Navani that she is like worth their time, basically, because she's like of a lower rank than they are, blah blah blah, whatever. I'm like, Shallan is better than all of you, shut up. She kind of sneaks and manipulates her way into one of the other High Prince's war camps, and it's High Prince Sabarial, who's kind of like, he plays the fool among all of the other High Princes, and he's like always saying really like unfiltered crass things, but he's secretly like really devious and smart because he is building an economy essentially in the Shattered Plains, and he's working on like textiles and stuff like that. Shallan is staying with them to give her a little more freedom to be doing a bunch of other things rather than having to like stay in Dalinar's war camp and constantly be watched. The Kaladin Shallan banter is 10 out of 10, top tier. They're constantly fighting, and her clever wit and his just like straightforward, sassy, broody attitude, it's perfect. Adolin is dueling a bunch of other people in the war camps for shards, so he's like betting shards in these duels, and when he wins he takes them, and it's kind of trying to shift the balance and take power away from like Sidious and other high princes who are against what Dalinar is trying to do. Renarin, who is Dalinar's other son, Adolin's younger brother, joins Bridge 4 for some reason, not really sure why. It's kind of like he's sort of a misfit among the elite and like the royal light eye group, so he asks Kaladin if he can train as a bridgeman, and Kaladin's like, yeah, I guess, why not? In addition, so Shallan shows up in this war camp. She's trying to finish and figure out the rest of Jasna's research, trying to find this hidden city of like Eretheru, I don't even know how to say it, but they're trying to find this hidden ancient city in the Shattered Plains. She's trying to do that for Jasna so that they can stop the Voidbringers. So she's doing that. She's trying to get Adeline to fall in love with her so that she can have like this really nice match, and also she's kind of falling for him a little bit. But in addition to all of that, she's also trying to infiltrate the Ghost Bloods. Now, I don't really understand the Ghost Bloods, but they're this like secret underground organization. Shallan's father was part of them. Kabzal, who's the Ardent that tries to poison Jasna in the first book, he was part of their organization, and they're basically trying to stop Jasna from doing what she's doing. Tin was working for the Ghost Bloods, and so Shallan, after she kills her, arranges a meeting with them and is trying to infiltrate them. And she does that by using her new powers because she's learning how to be a light weaver. She can use Stormlight to bring life to pictures that she draws and wear them as disguises. So she disguises herself as this woman named Vale, and she's a dark-eyed, dark-haired woman, and she uses that disguise to infiltrate the Ghost Bloods, and she has to like avoid a lot of them trying to kill her at first, and her kind of proving herself, like being able to get out of all these situations, lose their tails, and avoid them killing her. She kind of gains their trust, but she also has to sneak into Amaram, High Lord Amaram, who betrayed and enslaved Kaladin. He shows up in the war camp in part 2, and she has to go and sneak into his house, and she finds out that he is researching the Voidbringers and wants to bring Voidbringers back for some reason. And while she's doing that, she also finds out that Amaram has her brother's Shardblade. I think Hellerin is how you would say his name, is her oldest brother, and he's kind of like exiled by their father in the flashbacks, because the flashbacks that we get in this book are Shallan's. I don't know if I even said that. Her father was really, really abusive. Her mother died right in front of her when she was like 5 years old, and her brothers have all a bunch of problems, and she's kind of trying to hold the family together. She finds out that Amaram has her brother's Shardblade and that he killed her brother, supposedly, although we know that Kaladin killed her brother, and that Amaram stole the Shardblade. Now, what's going on with Kaladin? Moshe, who is one of the bridge men that Kaladin befriends in book 1, and he's a very close friend of Kaladin, he tells Kaladin that he wants to assassinate Elhokar because when Elhokar was younger, he imprisoned his grandparents who raised him, and they died in prison, basically. And that's a big part of part 3, 4, and 5 is Kaladin wrestling with that, because he knows that Elhokar is a bad king, but at the same time it's like Syl doesn't approve of just murdering people with his powers because he can. The last couple of chapters, the big boom of this part, if you will, is that Adeline agrees to fighting 2 Shardbearers at the same time, but they trick him into fighting 4 because they kind of twist his words and say that basically he didn't tell them how many people he could bring. He just says as long as he was outnumbered that he would do this duel. Their plan was that he would fight 2 people at once and then challenge Sidious in public to a duel, and that he would duel him for a shard. So the duel obviously isn't going well. He's getting the crap beat out of him because, I mean, he's a really, really good swordsman. He's very skilled, but he cannot fight 4 Shardbearers by himself at once, obviously. And no one will help. Dalinar is like begging the people to stop it, begging Elhokar to give him a blade, and he won't give him a blade. And so Kaladin jumps in, obviously, because he's a boss. And so Kaladin jumps into the ring, and basically he and Adeline fight off 4 Shardbearers. And so they win, and Adeline demands a duel with Sidious in front of everybody, and as was the plan. And then Kaladin also demands a duel with Amaram in front of everybody and says in front of everybody, this man betrayed me, killed my men, and enslaved me. And the very end is that Elhokar flips out and throws a tantrum and puts Kaladin in jail and arrests him for accusing Amaram in front of everybody. So the part 3 closes with Kaladin being thrown in jail, and Amaram and Sidious, the little snakes that they are, both wiggle their way out and don't have to fight Adeline or Kaladin. So not fun for Kaladin at all. He's back in prison, back where he feels like he's back where he started, essentially. That's how part 3 ends. And I'm about to finish my makeup here, but after I get dressed, I'll break down part 4 and part 5 for you all.
Alright, time for our third set of interludes, and this first one is my absolute favorite. We are getting some time with Lift, who is an adorable orphan slash thief who has been on the run from the man she calls Darkness, aka the man with the crescent scar on his face and his shard blade. And Lift, we are learning, is an edge dancer, a type of surge binder. She has her own friend named Wendell, and they can do some interesting things. Her powers she refers to as her awesomeness. And in addition to being an edge dancer, she can also somehow metabolize food directly into Stormlight, so she's always hungry, which is really funny and entertaining. And in this interlude, she's actually robbing a palace in Azir while they're trying to elect their new leader. And while that is happening, Darkness shows up and tries to take her into custody and kill her, but she's actually protected by the people of Azir, and she actually brings one of her companions and thieving partners back to life after he has been killed by Darkness, and that marks this interesting shift as her friend, whose name is Gox, becomes the new Prime, or this new leader of Azir. I love Lift, and I cannot wait to read Edge Dancer because that novella follows her and her whole story. After that, we're back with Zeth, who is having a bit of a crisis and a panic because he's realized that the Knights Radiant are back after fighting Kaladin, which means that mostly his entire life over the past several years has been a lie, and now he is determined to get revenge on the people of Shinovar for what they did to him. Last but not least, we're with Ashani again, who is still hearing this screaming voice in her head when she attunes to the rhythm of peace, and she has basically manipulated every Parshendi into either taking Stormform or facing death, which is fundamentally against all of the traditions of the Parshendi. No one is supposed to be forced to take any form. It is a personal decision, but she, in her new state, has become sort of aggressive and dominant and has decided that the only way they can defeat the Alethi soldiers is to all take Stormform and use that power to defeat the humans once and for all.
Makeup is finished. Dress is on, and it is now time to break down part 4, which I'm gonna refer to my notes. I showed you guys this in some B-roll, but I made a bunch of notes. Kaladin spends a few chapters in prison, but eventually Elhokar cools off and he lets Kaladin out of prison. He pardons him, but the most adorable thing in the world happens, and Kaladin gets out of prison and he realizes that Adolin threw himself in jail and refused to leave until Kaladin was set free. And so the bromance begins. I love it so much. They have like the cutest little banter, and I can't wait for them to become friends, and their friendship is blossoming in their little bromance situation. And Adolin tells him that he believes him about Amorim, which really gains, I think, a lot of Kaladin's trust. Adolin offers him a shard blade and plate, but Kaladin and his relationship with Syl, he feels that too many people he loves has been killed with a shard blade, but also every time he touches a shard blade, he hears this screaming in his head because Syl doesn't like them, and he doesn't really know much of why, but he knows that Syl doesn't like shard blades, so he gives it to Moshe, who is his really good friend. There's really only one big plot thread in part 4, and it's that Dalinar takes a scouting expedition onto the Shattered Plains with a couple of purposes in mind. First, they want to do some recon because he's getting ready to charge into the Parshendi and basically go through the plains until they hit the Parshendi war camps and just be done with it and have this all-out battle with them during this period of time in the year called the Weeping, when no high storms happen. Another part of it is that he's bringing along Shallan because she wants to see and sketch a dead Chasm Fiend and kind of do some research with her scholarship on the Chasm Fiends. She goes on this expedition with them, and Kaladin goes, and a bunch of the bridgemen go, and while they're on this expedition, one of Siddius's assassins attempts to kill Gavilar by compromising one of the big mechanistic bridges that Dalinar has, and he basically throws this emergency lever that causes it to collapse. And Adolin saves Dalinar by like jumping and getting him, but Kaladin and Shallan and a bunch of other people fall into a chasm. And Kaladin and Shallan are the only ones that live because they both respectively save themselves with Stormlight. But they don't know of each other's abilities. So Shallan thinks she saved herself and Kaladin with Stormlight, and Kaladin thinks he saved himself and Shallan with the Stormlight. And they're stuck in this pit, and a high storm is approaching. They're way farther than they've ever been before. They don't know how to get back to camp. So basically the rest of part 4 is them stuck in the chasms together. And I mean, do I need to say it? The banter. They fight so much and it's so funny. They find out that Shallan she's sketching their path, and she discovers that the planes are actually a mirrored pattern. And so she's starting to draw it and filling in the blanks, and she's using that to guide them back towards where they're supposed to be. But a lot of other crap is looming because they're trying to avoid a chasm fiend, which has been like around and about where they are, and they're trying to race against the clock and get back to the camps before the coming high storm. But in addition to all this problems, that Kaladin, when he fell from the bridge into the chasm, he heard Syl screaming really loud in his head, and since then he can't contact her and he can't use Stormlight anymore now that he's in the chasm. So he's stuck down there without his abilities to use Stormlight and without Syl. So they get cornered by this chasm fiend, Shallan and Kaladin. They're stuck in the chasm and they're hiding in this little crevice, and the chasm fiend is literally waiting for them. Like, he's smart enough, he's waiting for them to come out, and he's like, well, you know, what are we gonna do? So Kaladin's
like, all right, I'm gonna distract it and you make a run for it.
And Shallan's like,
no, don't do that, please.
And then he's like,
I have to.
and she's like,
okay, well, at least take this.
and she hands him her shard blade. And he's like,
Shallan, WTF, where'd you get this?
and she's like,
Not now, let's deal with the chasm thing first.
so they fight it and they kill it, which is absurd. The high storm's coming. So Shallan basically climbs up the plateau wall and cuts them a cubby to hide in inside one of the plateaus with her shard blade, because the shard blade can cut through anything. So she literally carves them out a hole and basically hide there throughout this storm. During the storm, first of all, we get Shallan's flashback and find out that she killed her dad, which is crazy. But her dad has been really abusive, and he murdered her stepmother, and is kind of like the last straw for her, and she poisons him, but then it doesn't kill him, so she has to strangle him. And it's this really horrifying moment where she's like choking him and singing the lullaby that he used to sing to her, and it's rough. And she tells Kaladin, and that sparks them sharing their past with each other for the most part. They don't tell each other that they can surge bind, but they basically tell them everything else. But also Kaladin has this vision during the high storm, and the Stormfather tells him that Syl is dead and that their bond has been broken. So here's my thing. I love Adolin so much. He's a sweetheart. He's one of my favorite characters, and I love him and Kaladin and their BFF bromance that's blossoming. And I love Shallan, and she's amazing, but I love Kaladin and Shallan together, and I think Kaladin's developing a crush on her. I don't like the love triangle trope, so I don't know where this is gonna go, but I feel like Kaladin and Shallan would be so good together. Eventually, after the high storm, they get back to camp. Kaladin's healing up without Stormlight now, and Shallan basically, she tells Dalinar that she can find the center of the Shattered Plains with her drawing and mirroring it. So he takes her, and everybody starts setting out on this war effort, and they head for the Parshney camp. So part 4 ends with everybody marching their way on to the camp, and Kaladin is left behind with a couple of the other bridgemen who are guarding Elokar, who also stayed behind. And yeah, so that's the end of part 4. Be still, my beating heart.
We have arrived at the final set of interludes, and in this first of the final set, we are following Brother Lon, who is an ardent for Queen Aesudan, who's Elokar's wife back in Kholinar, and he's training this new ardent who basically insults the queen and tells her that everything she does is a disgrace, and she is immediately executed, and that sets off a series of riots in Kholinar. We don't know too much about it other than that, but it is alluded to at the end of the book that these riots are becoming more and more problematic. Finally, we get our last interlude with Ashani, who in this scene is deciding with her sister Venli that they are going to create their own high storm, aka the Everstorm, when Dalinar is on the plains, and use that power to destroy his entire army while they're exposed on the plateaus. The very last interlude of Book 2, we're following Taravangian, who is the king of Kharbranth from the first book, and basically we're getting some backstory on him. And he went to the Night Watcher and asked for the capacity to save humanity, and in a fit of brilliance he creates this document called the Diagram, which helps predict events of the war and of the future. But part of this boon and curse situation from the Night Watcher is that every day he wakes up with a different mental capacity, so every day he has to take tests to gauge his intelligence and gauge what he is able to do as king. In this interlude, he becomes the king of Ja Kaved, and also Szeth shows up, and Taravangian lies to him and says that Kaladin must have stolen an honor blade, and that is how he was using radiant abilities, and not because the Voidbringers and Nice Radiant are back.
Alright, let us get into part 5. Set out for the plains, they're on their way. Dalinar and his boys meet and clash with the Parshendi in the middle of the plains. And the Parshendi, as you now know from the interludes, have all taken storm form, which is this ancient form that calls them and basically turns them into Voidbringers, and they are calling the Everstorm. And Dalinar and all his troops are trying to kill them before they finish their song and call this Everstorm, and everybody's battling and everything's going on, and it's crazy, it's wild. Adolin fights Ashani, who's the shard bearer, and she falls into this chasm, and like wild stuff's going on. So while all that is happening, Adolin is looking for the portal to this hidden city while she's kind of like weaving around the battle scenes. Back at camp, Kaladin realizes that he doesn't want Elhokar to die just because he's incompetent as a king. He realizes that that's bad and that he's supposed to protect people no matter what. So he goes and tries to help Elhokar, and he's really beat up. He has like broken ribs, he's got a bum leg, and he can't heal because he doesn't have Stormlight anymore. And he's protecting Elhokar no matter what, and then Moshe shows up, and the assassin Graves shows up, and they're like, we gotta kill him, sorry dude. And he's
Like, I can't let you do that.
So Kaladin says the words, he makes the oath, and promises to protect people no matter what, even if he hates them, because that is honorable, that's the right thing to do. And Syl is alive, and she returns, and it's glorious, and Kaladin, oh my god, Kaladin just explodes with Stormlight, and then we find out that Syl is a shard blade. Now bear with me. There are two kinds of shard blades. There are the kind that people have been using, which are like deceased spren, and when a human calls on them, they kind of reanimate and come back to life for these brief moments, but they're dead. And so that's why Syl is always screaming in his head when he touches one, is because he's touching these spren that were killed when the Knights Radiant broke their oath. Kaladin, as a Radiant, can use a shard blade. So Syl, who's his friend, can form into a shard blade, and that's like the true, honest form of a shard blade. Beats the crap out of everybody, saves Elhokar, is running to Dalinar because he realizes that Szeth is gonna attack, because he kind of has this moment where Syl is like, yo, we gotta go. And at the same time, Adolin sees Szeth, basically. So you're like bouncing between these two moments with Kaladin at the war camps and Adolin and Dalinar and Shallan and in this fight and what they're doing. And then Kaladin shows up and he's like, boom! And he's fighting Szeth, and they're literally flying everywhere in the sky, fighting each other with their Stormlight and things that are going on. And he defeats Szeth, and Szeth breaks his bond with this sword. But Szeth isn't a Radiant. He's got this weird thing going on where, like, the people gave him this sword and he got wind-running powers, but once that bond is broken, he doesn't have those powers anymore. Shallan finds the portal, and she realizes that only true shard blades that have live spren and, like, you're bonded, like, only Knights Radiant shard blades can open the portal. And we find out that Pattern is her shard blade. She doesn't have an old shard blade, patterns her shard blade. She opens the portal, transports the whole frickin' army away just in time to protect them from the clashing of the Stormfather's High Storm and the Parshendi's Everstorm, because it like clashes and then a bunch of wild plateau cataclysmic destruction stuff happens. The end of this book, because that's not even the end. There's some other wild stuff that happens, but first and foremost, I made some notes about the different kinds of surge binders. So presumably there are 10 kinds of surge binders because there are like 10 orders of the Knights Radiant, but I can only think of 6 that we know of. So I'm either being stupid or we haven't met the final 4 yet, but we have Windrunners. Kaladin is a Windrunner. Lightweavers is Shallan. Bondsmiths is Dalinar, because Dalinar basically tells the Stormfather, like, hey, you're gonna be my spren and we're gonna get shit done together. And so the Stormfather becomes Dalinar's spren, and Dalinar becomes a Radiant, and he's a bondsmith because he says the oaths to like act honorably, blah blah blah. Then Renarin turns out to be a freaking Radiant himself. He's a truth watcher, so he kind of seems like an oracle, like he can see stuff, maybe see the future. We have Skybreakers, which is Szeth. We'll come back to that in a minute. And Edge Dancers, which is Lift, and that is what the novella between books 2 and 3 is called, because we're going to learn more about Edge Dancers. Returning a moment to Szeth. So one of the heralds, the Knights Radiant, who has been popping up throughout the interludes, he has the crescent tattoo or the crescent scar on his face, he saves Szeth's life. He brings him back from the dead after he falls to his death during the storm after Kaladin defeats him. And so he tells Szeth that he's going to train him to be a Skybreaker because he has proved himself, and he's going to give him those powers so that he can take revenge on the people of Shinovar who made him truthless when he said the Voidbringers were going to come back, and they told him he was lying and made him a slave to this oath, and he had to kill all these people, and then he finds out that he was right all along, and the Radiants and the Voidbringers are both back, and now he's pissed because he has all of this horrible PTSD. Listen to me, I have a new theory. My theory in video number 1 was that Shallan has a shard blade, and I was right. Can we be 2 for 2? Because my next theory is that at the end of that chapter, this guy with the crescent tattoo, whose name I don't remember, gives Szeth a sword. And the sword is all black like obsidian, and it talks to him. My theory is that this sword is Nightblood from Warbreaker, which is another book that takes place in the Cosmere. I don't know how Szeth connects to Vasher. I don't know if he is Vasher, past, present. I don't know if he knows Vasher. I don't know if this just disguised Vasher, but something is up, because that is Nightblood from Warbreaker. Because in Warbreaker, Vasher, who's one of the characters, has a sword that is black that leaks smoke, and it talks to him. And that's not even the last thing that happens. Then, while they're exploring this new city, Adolin finds Sidious. And Sidious tells him basically that he's never gonna stop fighting Dalinar, and it's gotta be him or Dalinar. And Adolin stabs him and kills him! Oh my god. It is epic. It is glorious. I hate that little snake, and Adolin stabs him. I did not see that coming. I thought that that little snake was gonna weasel his way into at least 2 more books and do all of his sus crap, but no. Adolin is a god, and he kills him. And basically the end of this book is that everybody's realizing that this Everstorm is gonna come back. It's gonna travel the world and then return, and on its way back, it's gonna turn all the Parshmen into Voidbringers. And this new desolation is gonna happen. So they gotta prep for that. They gotta get ready. Kaladin leaves the city to go warn his parents, and that is basically prepping us for book 3. There's one more thing we gotta talk about, because the epilogue. The epilogue, we're following Wit, and he's waiting for someone. Who might he be waiting for, you ask? Oh, I don't know, Jasna freaking Colon, because she's not dead. You cannot kill the one and only Jasna. You cannot do it. The assassins were stupid, they were wrong, and I think, it's not stated on page, but I think that she has been in Shadesmar this whole time. Not sure how. I'm sure we're gonna get information in the 3rd book, but the point is, she's alive, all is well, and I can breathe. I was holding my breath for the entire book because I didn't want her to be dead. And then in the final page, she's alive, and I'm just like, thank all the gods. Thank the Storm Father himself. That is the end of Words of Radiance. I probably forgot stuff, but honestly, holy freaking crap. Am I right? Obviously, if it wasn't clear, this is a 5 out of 5 stars. It's an absolute masterpiece. I'm enthralled in this series. I'm obsessed. There's nothing else I want to do. I want to pick up Edge Dancer tonight. I want to start Oathbringer this week, and I just can't stress how much I love it. I can't wait to call my friend Marissa, and we're gonna talk and we're gonna debrief, because I haven't talked to her on the phone since I finished the book. I texted her and we were just gushing about it, but I can't wait to debrief with her and talk about it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you made it to the end, bless your soul, because I'm sure this video is probably at least an hour long. But I love this series, I love these books, and if you're watching this video, I assume you love them too. Stay tuned, because part 3 is probably coming very, very soon. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. It really means the world to me, and watching this video, because I put my heart and soul into this book, into reading it, into making content and editing this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if that's your jam, and I hope to see you in my next video. Happy reading, happy writing, and happy living. Bye!